What is up, A to Z Sports Nashville primetime? Look at us. Look at me. Hope everybody is having a great Tuesday evening. I'm your host tonight, Easton Freeze. Excited to be with you guys. If you watch the morning show, then you know who I am. If you read A to Z Sports Titans anything, then you know who I am. And if you're on Twitter, I'm sure you know who I am because I'm on there way too much. But if you only watch primetime, then hello, I'm Easton Freeze. I cover the Titans for A to Z Sports Nashville, and I am stoked to be with you guys here on a Tuesday. I'll be taking over for Buck on Tuesdays. I think the plan is forever, for the foreseeable future. So we'll see if that changes, and I'll let you know if that changes. But from now until at least the regular season begins, I will be your host on Tuesday nights. Looking forward to a little solo show action. I have done many a solo show in my past, but never this solo show. And if you are a long-time listener of the primetime show, you probably know how it typically works. I do not. I'm new to this. I respectfully have not watched primetime like at all. So I've just resolved to kind of just do 30 minutes of whatever I would do. And we're going to stick, I think, to the general plan. And I've got Bert flying with me here in the catbird seat, as they say, if you're from the 1940s. Appreciate him producing tonight. I think my guy Ross is going to be taking over for us next Tuesday, but tonight Bert is helping me get the ropes of primetime for the first time. So super excited. See everybody chiming in the chat here. No Buck forever sad. Hey, listen, if you're a huge Buck Rising guy, more power to you. He is on the radio every single day, and he'll be on primetime 5 days a week. So here's your little break from Buck Rising, which, in my humble opinion, everybody needs just a little bit of. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Titan Stock Watch. I figured it'd be a great opportunity for me to kind of just go through each position group. I wrote about this over at atozsports.com this week. Stock up, stock down, my opinions, how they've changed about each of the position groups based on the 5 practices that I have seen in the past month, including all 3 of the mandatory minicamp practices. So looking forward to talking about that. Going to ask you guys some questions, get you to chime in on which position groups we are most bullish on, which position groups we are most concerned about. Going to do all of that and talk about our wonderful and amazing sponsors here on the Primetime program. We've got Two Rivers Ford, of course, and TrueMav Fitness. Shout out to both of those companies who I am new to them as well in terms of ad reads. I know that Buck, I think his 73% of his entire salary is paid by Two Rivers Ford. So he's intimately familiar with them. They also give him cars and stuff, which is super cool. If they are ever looking for somebody else to like be in that position, I'm easy to reach. That's something that we could certainly set up. So I'll go ahead and tell you about Two Rivers Ford because they are the Ford dealership of the Middle Tennessee area, located in Mount Juliet, serving all of Nashville and Middle Tennessee. If you're searching for a trusted Ford dealership near Mount Juliet, Tennessee, then Two Rivers Ford has you covered. As a leading Ford dealership in Mount Juliet, we pride ourselves on offering an exceptional selection of new and used Ford vehicles with a particular focus on the ever-popular F-150 and F-250 Super Duty trucks. Their commitment to customer satisfaction and quality service sets them apart from the other car dealerships in the area. So that is Two Rivers Ford. Thank you to them for sponsoring tonight's program. And TrueMav Fitness, where they offer more than just your average workout. Their signature programming is a challenging boot camp style class that offers high intensity training. These classes are led by instructors who are consistently pushing your limits and inspiring you to be your best self, not only inside, but also outside of the gym. Your first workout is free, and there is no workout recycled or repeated at TrueMav. So they keep it fresh over there. Thank you to them for sponsoring the Primetime show. All right. Let's get into some stock watch for the Titans. And we're going to go position by position. Like I said, I wrote an article on this topic over the weekend, I believe, talking about each position group. And I'm basically just going to talk through my feelings on each of them. So we'll start with the quarterbacks where, stock up, stock down, in the middle, no change. I had a no change on the quarterbacks. Based on what I've seen the past 5 practices, I feel better about the Cam Ward of it all. I feel worse about the rest of it. The obvious backup in terms of talent is Will Levis. I think that it is Cam Ward and then the Grand Canyon and then Will Levis and then the Grand Canyon again. And then you've got Brandon Allen and who am I forgetting in the Titans quarterback room? Tim Boyle. Gosh, you know what? Frankly, it's because he's that forgettable. Tim Boyle and Brandon Allen are clearly the bottom 2 in that room. And listen, if you are somebody that values good backup play on this team, then I think you are in a bit of a pickle because I don't think you're going to have it. I still think that they're going to find a way to trade Will Levis. I think that is going to leave you with, I believe the coaching staff prefers Brandon Allen. So Brandon Allen as your backup, and Brandon Allen offers you as much juice as you felt in your heart when you saw back in March that the Titans had signed Brandon Allen, which is not much. So no offense to him, it's just there's a reason why he doesn't have this long track record of being a great backup in the league. He's not. He's somebody they brought in because there's familiarity, and he's, I think, great in a room, and he's a veteran, all these things. I have argued, I've thought this for a long time, but just recently, this year, I guess, I've argued that I think backup quarterback as a position is vastly underrated on good football teams. People don't take it as seriously as they should. And I think it is almost always overrated on bad or rebuilding teams. I think that a team like the Titans, which were bad, are now rebuilding. Hopefully not bad this year, but I think at best they're a rebuilding team. You have so many eggs in the Cam Ward basket that, God forbid, if and when he goes down, a la Joe Burrow in his rookie year, when Brian Callahan and that Bengals team did what they did to finish out the year strong in a poor sense. So finish out the year as poorly as possible to ensure a top, was Ja'Marr Chase the sixth pick, top 5-ish pick in the draft to get Ja'Marr Chase. And then they were rocking and rolling, right? If Cam Ward goes down, this season needs to be scuttled. And I'm not a big tank guy or anything, but you don't need a competent quarterback to come in and potentially win you some games. Now, you may be arguing that Will Levis should be that guy because he's the best of the backups. And last year, he showed us that he is not the guy that's going to be competent and come in and win the games. And to that, I say, fair enough, maybe not. But I think that Will Levis is absolutely capable of winning games at a higher clip than Brandon Allen or Tim Boyle. So all of that being said, and I've talked a bunch about Cam Ward. We've all talked about Cam Ward. We're going to continue to talk about Cam Ward. He was really impressive. His demeanor and his mind are certainly the things that have been the most impressive to me so far. The way that he is so cool and loose about everything, maybe a little bit too loose at times. So that's something that I can absolutely live with because I think that he is somebody that plays football with a resting heart rate of 65 beats per minute. And I think he just lives his life that way too. Every day at practice, I'd go out there looking for him to do something that can we get him to do something that really messes something up in a play? Can we knock him off his spot? Can we get him off balance? Can I see him rattled? And then once he's rattled, can I see how he responds to that? And he just wouldn't do it no matter what, on or off the field. The guy doesn't get rattled by anything. And even when he does something, you're like, oh, there it is. He throws the first interception that we've seen from him on the first day of minicamp on Tuesday. And it's like, oh, here we go. Here's the pick. How's he going to respond? Is he going to be checked down Charlie the rest of practice? Is he going to tuck tail or play second guessing himself and hold on to the ball for too long? And he finishes the practice 17 for 17, and it doesn't change a thing. Continues to be Cam Ward, pushing the boundary, testing tight windows across the middle of the field, trying to push the ball downfield, like doing all these things that are exciting and real quarterbacking things, and is perfect the rest of practice. And it's like, well, all right, I guess that doesn't really count. And there are plenty of things coming up. I'm not saying he is infallible. There are things that are going to be stumbling blocks for him, whether it is the additional unpadded practices they have, the padded practices they have coming up where guys can start hitting each other and things get faster, the joint practices where he's facing better players on other teams, preseason games themselves. And if none of that works somehow, then by September, surely in the real games, he will find something to screw up because even the best starting quarterbacks in the league still screw things up. It's the nature of the game. And when that happens, in a kind of sick and twisted way, I'm really looking forward to seeing how he responds to really being unsettled for the first time because I've not seen it yet. And that's really impressive. So quarterback, really no change on the stock. Let's talk about the wide receivers. And this is where I want to ask our first question, Bert. What is the position group as we're going through our stock watch on each of the positions on this Titans team? What's the position group that you are the most optimistic about? Who are you most bullish about going into this year? Maybe it's the group that you think is the best on the team. Maybe it's the group that you think has improved the most year over year. Maybe it's the position group that you think is the most important to the Titans' success, and you're optimistic about how good they're going to be this year. Want to hear what position group you are most bullish on. I won't be surprised if for some folks, based on the way that you people are talking, I won't be surprised if some of you are really bullish about this wide receiver group, because my stock is up on these guys. I think it is a stock up group because of the rookie, really youth movement that has been infused into this room. I was really impressed in kind of different ways by each of the three players that have recently been added to this room. Obviously, the 2 4th-round picks in Chimere Dike and Alec Iamannor, and the UDFA Xavier Restrepo. Those three guys all were positives in OTAs and in mandatory minicamp. If you know me, you know I'm a big Alec Iamannor guy. I don't know if it's confirmation bias or just confirming my priors, but I've been really impressed by what I saw from him so far in camp. And so that is really exciting. I think that he is really the only true X receiver on this team in terms of size and skill set. And I think that he's probably going to end up being your starting X receiver, if I had to guess, which is really cool. And I think that he's going to make a lot of impact plays this year. Chimere Dike is a guy that he may have been the draft pick that the Titans made that was most confusing to me at the time. But in kind of considering it and rewatching Titans coaches and people that are in the know on these things, I am more excited about him than I was when they drafted him by a pretty significant margin. Because if you've watched him at Florida at all, I don't think that that was even close to the best representation of how he can be used in the NFL. I don't think that that was a great program in terms of setting up their receiving talent for success. He was kind of just deep slant guy a lot of the time. And I don't think that's going to be him in the Titans offense at all. I think in a perfect world, he is the starting slot for this team. I think he's the big slot that they want to use a lot out of that alignment and utilize him up the seam on seam go, as well as in the short area. Like, I think that they really love his skill set in a different role than what he did in college. And from what I've heard, they are really excited about how he has progressed so far. Still early, but I think that they're really excited about what they've seen so far. So he's somebody that frankly might not be getting enough attention. And then Xavier Restrepo, he's kind of an enigma of a guy in the sense that it shouldn't work, right? Like, on paper, I can't really explain why it works, but I do know that it does work. And he's just kind of got that black magic to him where there are some players in the NFL that you are foolish to try to make it make sense on paper or in your head. Like, you just have to accept that they are good ball players. And with Xavier, he's not the fastest guy in the world. Now, just to put this on the record, he ran 4.8 at his pro day. The telemetry data, like the GPS tracking data that's behind the scenes, really shows that he's a 4.52 guy, which is still not fast, but it's significantly better. If you've ever wondered, what could he actually run? 4.52. And also, if you're just looking at pure top speeds, he's still getting to 16, 17, 18 miles an hour consistently on the GPS data from Miami too. So he's perfectly fast enough to play in the NFL. But more importantly, he did at minicamp what he did all throughout college, which is somehow get open, get targets, catch the targets, and produce. That's what you want in your receiver. That's kind of the whole thing, right? There are some other things you need to block. The versatility is a thing with him, right? Special teams is a thing. It's a narrow path for him being a part of this team and affecting the roster. But he does the thing that you want the receiver to do, which is get open and catch the ball and then run with the ball. So I don't know what to tell you. He was a safety blanket kind of guy throughout minicamp, not just for Cam Ward, who obviously there's familiarity with, but for all of the quarterbacks. He was just getting the ball and getting open and being a part of the offense. So we'll see if that continues when the pads come on, but man, I'm excited about that. I want to not totally ignore you guys in the comments here. And frankly, this is the hardest part about doing a solo show, because I can just sit here and talk into a camera like a crazy person talking to themselves for 3-4 hours probably. But it is hard to read your comments and say the words. So I'm going to do my best to pay attention. My guy Drew here in the comments says, I really like DK. I think there's a really high ceiling as a rotational Z. 100% agree. I think that he's not going to play just as the slot. I don't know. all of these guys are going to play almost all of the positions. Somebody like Restrepo, there's physical limitations that he's never going to line up as your X, or I sure hope not. But I think every other receiver on this team is capable. You may not see a whole lot of Alec in the slot, but for the most part, everybody is capable of playing most of the positions, especially since they mix and match and there's condensed sets and all of these things. Anyways, Drew says he likes him as a rotational Z. I can't wait to see his deceleration and footwork used on an actual route tree. Right, exactly. Like when they let this guy run other routes than like 4, which is what he did at Florida Bay. I mean, the Florida tape, it's also like Cardio King tape. I think their playbook is designed to make Chimere Dike run at minimum 50 yards on every single play, which is super not cool. So like maybe now that he'll actually have some time to catch his breath, he might be an even better player then. Zedine says, do you think Restrepo can make the team solely being a slot receiver? And this is the question, right? I don't know. I feel like he does probably need to carve out a role for himself on special teams somehow to ensure he's on the roster. And if he doesn't, it may have more to do with what other players in the room do for themselves, right? Like it may be a guy, we want to keep him so bad, but man, Bryce Oliver made himself too invaluable on special teams. James Prochet made himself too invaluable on special teams. We just can't not have those guys. We got to have them. And that means there's no room for Restrepo. And that's how he gets bumped out. It has nothing to do with what he can do. It has everything to do with what he can't do. That might be the case if he can't find something else to do, because he's not a guy that you can move around on the offense, right? He's going to do the thing that he does, and that's all. So it's a great question, Zedine. And the answer is kind of maybe. I know it's not the answer you're looking for, but really maybe is the best that I can do. Back to the question that I asked, I kind of wanted to give you guys some time to chime in on what position group you are most bullish on. Titans Bro says safety, which is maybe a more uncommon answer, but I do like that answer a lot. I think they have 3 really good safeties in there. Steven Crocio says offensive line. We're going to get to that here in just a minute. Let's see. Chill Mode says the tight end room, which is an interesting answer. So we can wide receiver, Josh and Nicole says. So there we go. Wide receiver is at least somebody's stock up on a Tuesday night here. So just reading through some. Yeah, Drew says Chimere Dike, Captain Crosser, while also being used nonstop as motion in the lead block. Yeah, just Cardio King. He's Cardio King. So we'll see. I want to move on here because we do want to keep this show relatively tight. We got a lot of position groups to get to. So let's go kind of speed round here before we ask our... Actually, you know what, bro? Let's go ahead and ask the next question so folks can chime in. Maybe this is a more opinionated question. We'll get some more responses from you guys in the comments. Which position group are you most concerned about? We're going to get to the one my most bullish and my most bearish position groups here in just a minute. But what position group are you the most stocked down on and you are worried about them maybe compromising the Titans' entire season? I want to hear that in the comments. Moving right along, running backs, I had no change, no stock changes for the running backs. It is what it is. This is the most predictable room in the entire building, right? Like we know that Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard are the 1-2 punch that are going to be the 1-2 punch that you're going to see the most often. And the Titans wanted to go out and find a change of pace, dirty work down back to be a complement to those 2 guys in terms of skill set, be a traditional bruiser between the tackles runner, and they think that they found that in Kalel Mullings in the 6th round of the draft. We'll see. Kalel's just coming back now from the abdominal injury that he had. He's going to be ready to go by the time training camp rolls around. So we will see what he looks like, but I think at best he's your 3rd running back, and he's going to be useful, and he's going to be a special teams body, and it's going to be great, and it's going to be otherwise the Tyjae and Tony Pollard show, and I don't think anybody else in that competition really stands a chance. So apologies to Julius Chestnut, and I'm forgetting who the other guy is. I know it's a 3-name guy that they brought in like 2 weeks ago, and all I can get in my head is David Martin Robinson. It's not David Martin Robinson. That's a tight end. Somebody in the chat will send it in a minute. Davis Price, Davis Price. I think that's what it is. Tight end. Tyrion. Thank you, Bert. Tyrion Davis Price. Not a player that I'm considering for this team. Tight end, stock up on the tight ends. This has bothered me a little bit. I don't think there was enough talk coming out of minicamp about Gunnar Helm. He looked really good out there, and I didn't really hear a whole lot of chatter about him. He just kind of did what we expected him to do, which is be a producer, be a quarterback's best friend kind of guy. And I think he's going to maybe be the most heavily, besides Cam, right? Besides Cam, obviously. I think he's going to be the rookie that contributes the most this year. And I know tight ends aren't always the most out of the box ready to go, but purely as a receiving threat, I think that there's a chance he is the most often targeted receiving tight end on this team. I think that he's going to be the starting Y traditional inline blocking tight end that they have, not the Nick Vanette role of like doing a lot of dirty work blocking, but lined up out of the Y, running a lot of routes up the seam, that kind of thing. The Josh Wiley role, frankly, I think is he's going to end up unseating him, and Josh Wiley maybe kind of on the block here. But Chig and Gunnar look like a really nice tandem. I think that the two of them are going to be an impact in the passing game, and I'm ready to be hurt again by Chig Okonkwo. I think that he's somebody that is going to be really useful in the Cam Ward offense. I think he's somebody that they're going to be looking to get more involved in the passing offense, and I'm really excited to see what he can do with what should be the best quarterback that he has played for, certainly since Ryan Tannehill, maybe ever, if Cam Ward really pans out. So that is really, really promising. Going back to the question that we asked, the position group that you are most concerned about, let's see what some of your answers were on that. Ben Hall says linebacker, certainly a question there. Kevin says cornerback. He's most concerned about corner. Drew says corner and edge by a country mile. Spoiler, that is my answer as well. Hashtag QJ says I'm most concerned at edge, following very close behind linebacker. Steven says stock down on the linebackers. Kevin, edge. Chill mode, edge. It's obviously not surprising. Folks are most concerned about edge. And Steven says followed by the cornerbacks. That is, I think, objectively the most concerning groups. And we're going to get to them here in just a minute. Okay. Now the offensive line, last group that we haven't talked about on offense. I am really bullish about what the Titans are doing in the trenches, period. Like, I think that this is going to be the best trench warfare Titans team since the 2020-2021 era of the Arthur Smith offense really humming. And that's really exciting. Sorry, Richie. I did not mean to snub you. I didn't see your. Oh, here we go. Sorry, Richie. Stock down on the offensive coach, left tackle, and social media manager. Fair enough. I agree with the social media manager part, which may or may not have to do with the fact that they just tattooed me the other night for no reason with that picture that may or may not be me. You can't prove that it's me. Just to be clear, that person was wearing sunglasses. They look vaguely like me. Who knows whether it's actually me or not? We'll never know. But if it were me, that'd be really embarrassing. So there we go. The offensive line, though, in particular, it's the first year in a while that they've had five players at all five positions that don't really have a glaring question mark on them. So I think that it's going to be a big step up. I think that in fairness, like, who's the weakest link? Who are you most concerned about? It's definitely Dan Moore at left tackle. And I've had some people question, like, well, we thought highly on the front end about a lot of the guys they brought in to play tackle recently that ended up being nuclear disasters, right? Like Dennis Daly was a guy that people had some optimism for. Andre Dillard, same deal. And then MPF, maybe even more so. And then it ended up being just as big, if not a bigger disaster. The difference is with all three of those guys, it was in large part projection based. Those weren't guys that had played a ton of tackle in the NFL up until that point, and not a ton super successfully. And while Dan Moore is no perfect guy, he's been, in my opinion, very accurately described as the most average tackle in the entire league. That's a compliment. Like, I don't think enough people understand. And I had a conversation with Trench Warfare, the Substack Trench Warfare's author Brandon Thorne, when the Titans went and signed Dan Moore for an article. And he explained to me, kind of reframed the way that I look at offensive tackle in particular. It's great to have an elite offensive tackle, but tackle is really a benchmark position. It is a you must be this tall to ride the ride position. And there's a pretty clear line of demarcation between guys that can hang in the NFL and guys that cannot at that position. And nobody really lives in between. Like at any given point, there are 16 to 20 serviceable left tackles in the NFL. And it's very clear who is serviceable, who you can get by with, and who just straight up is not. And the Titans have had the straight up is not guys for years now. And Dan Moore is, I think, pretty comfortably in the can play tackle in the NFL, can play left tackle. You can work around it. Is it perfect? No, but he's going to keep you clean enough to let you operate your offense. And the proven track record is what excites me the most, right? Because he is a guy that, for all of his other foibles, plays, right? He's I don't think has he missed a snap since high school. He's played every year, every game. And he's got a bajillion snaps under his belt where he's put a big track record on the record that you can look at and say, it's not perfect, but you can work with it. I also think that the Titans plan on, frankly, setting him up for success a lot better than the Justin Fields, Russell Wilson offense did. There was a clip going on Twitter last week, I think, of a play people were making fun of. Oh, look at how Dan Moore whiffed on this play. But like, if you zoom out, you realize, oh, it's stick and it's Justin Fields and he's got to get the ball out to the wide open guy. And for some reason, he just pumps and holds onto the ball. And it's like, if you know any amount of football, you know he's got to get rid of that ball. Like Dan Moore could have done a better job blocking. But those are the kinds of things where the quarterback is setting the offensive line up for failure by not doing their job well. So if Cam Ward is any good at his job, which I think that he will be, I think that you're going to have a lot better situation for a guy like Dan Moore. I think he's also going to be playing on a better line than he was last year if this Titans line pans out the way that it's supposed to. So I'm really excited to watch how those guys work. And Drew chiming in with the sharp comment, as always. Interesting how polar opposite stylistically the offensive tackles are. Yeah, absolutely. Latham being a subpar athlete with raw power and technically advanced hands, while Moore is a more raw technically, but rangy as hell. I will say that, Latham's doing his best to trend back towards the Dan Moore mean. He's not losing any of that technical advancement or raw power, hopefully, but he is not nearly the subpar athlete that I think he was last year. Now that he's lost all that weight, at least he shouldn't be. He should be a little bit more athletic in space. So I'm really excited to see how that looks. And I think that he could be the Titans' breakout player on offense this year, to be honest with you. I think that he's primed for a really big year. Richie G says, my feelings won't be hurt every year. I'm realistic, diehard Titans fan or not. Dan Moore was put in the swap meet for a reason. I hear what you're saying. I don't think I'm putting unrealistic expectations on Dan Moore. I'm just saying that he's going to be what he has always been, which he has a 4-year track record of being the most average tackle in football. And last year was his best year. And he really, I think, leveled out at what he is, which is serviceable. And that is such a dramatic upgrade for the Titans at the tackle position based on what they've had the past 3 years. It can't be overstated how big a deal having a serviceable offensive line is if you're just trying to just make your team work. And that's what I think they're trying to do. Let's fly through the defense here real quick before we get to a end of show topic that I'm kind of making up on the fly because I just realized I hadn't prepared one. But there's a thing from the internet that has nothing to do with football that I want to get Bert's thoughts on. So we're going to do that here at the end of the show. Defensive line. I said no change. It is what it is. My initial 53-man roster projection, which I did before minicamp, I included basically the same 5 guys the Titans had last year. We know T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons, and on odd man fronts, Sebastian Joseph Day are your starting 3. Those guys are good at football. They're exciting. I think that they take a step this year. How big a step? We'll see. And then behind them, I included the guys the Titans had last year. So Keandre Coburn and James Lynch, I think both played. Folks that were grinding the really bad Titans football at the end of the year, maybe you can chime in to agree or disagree on this. I think they played admirable football, decent defensive tackle 4 and 5 level of football. So they've got a large stable of UDFA guys behind those guys who are going to try to fight in the next 2 months to earn a position. But until then, I'm rolling with those guys, and I think that they are what they are, which is one of, if not the strongest and deepest position groups that the Titans have. It's like the only position group, maybe besides quarterback, that I think you can take those 5 and say there are a number of other teams in the league that would love to swap their defensive tackle room with the Titans defensive tackle room. So that's exciting. Edge rusher has to be a stock down, right? And this is the position group that I'm most concerned about in a vacuum, just because, yes, I did like the Femi Oladejo pick. I think that he's an exciting player. I think that he is pretty clearly a year 2 or year 3 bet, which is fine, which is cool, which I don't have an issue with that in the second round. But I am already not looking forward to the unfair expectations that are going to be put on him this year, simply because they have to be. They have to play this guy more than they should. They have to expect more from this guy than is fair to expect. And it just is what it is. And I think fans are going to be like, we picked this guy in the second round. Why is he not? It's because he's played 10 games at this position, people. He's a projection year 2, year 3 bet. I think he will be peaking next year or the following year in time for a second contract, and to prove it to be a really solid edge 2, maybe edge 1 if you hit 7.77 across the wheel here. So you just got to be patient with him. I don't think folks are going to be. And then Dre'Mont Jones is, on paper, he should be a clear upgrade over what the corpse of Harold Landry was offering you last year. That's good. That's great. But he's also never been asked to be a team's primary edge rusher. And that's kind of what the Titans are asking him to do. And I think we underrate sometimes as fans how much moving a player out of their ideal pecking order number, if that makes sense, like out of their ideal position on a team's rotation, how much that can impact their level of play. So like some examples, right? How many years had we watched NWI be a really nice, this guy's a great wide receiver 5, 4, maybe even wide receiver 3 for you. But how many Sundays we look up and it's NWI, it's wide receiver 2 out there, wide receiver 1 out there. And it's like, well, he's kind of bad in that position. And it's a shift in perspective. Arden Key is a great example too, where I think he's a really nice edge 3. And in an ideal world, he'd be the third edge, first guy off the bench in this room. But a lot like last year, they're probably going to have to lean on him to be a starter. And as a starter, he's more of a designated pass rusher type than he is a full-blown starting edge. And so I just don't, between Dre'Mont and Femi and Arden Key, and then what beyond that? Like nothing. It's just not an encouraging room. And I don't see how I think they'll be better than last year, but that just means they'll be a slightly shinier turd, which is not great. So stock down on the edge group. Just taking a peek at the comments here, seeing a lot of talk about Tubi. I heard this was a big topic the other night. Buck was very animated about the documentary that he hasn't seen yet, which I think is a bold take, to be really up in arms over something you've not even seen. But, do you? The next position group that I'll talk about is linebacker, and we'll keep moving here. No change on the linebackers. It is what it is. All I'll say about them is do we really need to be that concerned about linebacker 2? Like, if you made me philosophically pick the position on defense that if I had, like, where do you want, hey, Easton, you're building a defense, what position do you want to be your weakest? It is no hesitation my second linebacker. Like, what other position? Maybe your third defensive tackle, because you're going to run an odd man front. Otherwise, it's clearly linebacker 2 is the position you want to be your weakest. And you don't want to be bad by any means, but that should be the position you are least worried about reaching a certain level of competency. My money, I think, is on James Williams to be linebacker 2. He, I think, has the athleticism that they're looking for, the ranginess that they're looking for that position, and he flashed a couple of times last year. I will point out that my buddy James Foster did a tape study on Vanderbilt legend Anthony Orji, who is now a Titans player, who we were all kind of taken aback in the media corps last week, because every time we talked to the coaching staff about the linebackers, they'd say, oh, yeah. James Williams, Cedric Gray, Anthony Orji. That's the third guy you're mentioning? Not Otis Reese? Yes, every time with consistency. I think that they think highly of him, and based on the film work that James has done, hand up, I've not been watching a bunch of Anthony Orji tape from New Orleans last year. He thinks that he's the best linebacker in that room alongside Cody Barton. So maybe we're all sleeping on Vandy legend Anthony Orji. And if so, I apologize. I was not familiar with your game, I guess. I don't know. So maybe he's the guy. The point is, I think it's an open competition between the 2 second-year draft picks from last year, Gray and Williams. My money is on Williams if it's one of the two of them, but maybe Anthony Orji is the dark horse who comes up and takes that role. Taking a peek at the comments here, Richie says, why hasn't Femi Oladejo signed yet? It's a good question. I don't really know. I also don't care. This is one of the things that I really super duper don't care about at all is when rookie players sign their contracts. If it's August and they've not signed, wake me then. You know what I mean? Like, the Titans just signed Cam Ward. Well, yeah. The teams are going to sign their draft picks. Now, if it's like a holdout thing and people are like arguing publicly about the terms of the contract, okay, then it's a story. But until then, I don't really care. So respectfully, Richie G, I don't know, and I do not care. That's the closest that I'll get to being Buck Rising tonight right there. The linebacker room is what it is. No stock change there. Cornerback room. Last one I really want to spend some time on here is cornerback stock down. I'm not saying the Titans have a secondary problem. Like, I don't think it's time to panic on the cornerbacks yet. And I want to see them strap on the pads before we draw any dramatic conclusions. But based on what we saw at minicamp, it's not a super promising start. We know that this trio of starters, Sneed, Brownlee, and McCreary, I think could be one of the best units in football when they are all healthy and on the field and playing their brand of football. But we know Sneed is still rehabbing both of the injuries that we know of. If and when he comes back healthy, we then have the question of, okay, well, are you going to be L'Jarius Sneed again, or are you going to be the guy that was not very good at the beginning of last year? And I mean, he was fine. He was a fine cornerback. He was not the guy that they paid to be one of, if not the best cornerback in the league. That's the guy you're looking for, right? That version of L'Jarius Sneed. He wasn't that guy. He just wasn't. And then Brownlee, I'm a Brownlee guy. Like at the Senior Bowl 2 years ago, when I saw him for the first time, but long before he was a Titan, he caught my attention. He caught me and Sam Phelan's attention, and I was all in on the guy, and I was so stoked when the Titans grabbed him. I think that he's going to be really good. But I'd be lying if I said that he had a super great minicamp, just because there was like two or three too many times maybe that I looked up and it's like, oh, he got burned by, a guy I'm excited about. Oh, Chimere Dike, got him. Okay, but you need to win some of those, right? And so, he's a caveats. He's a guy that really shines when the pads come on. That's his style of play. Like, let him hit somebody. He'll try to kill somebody. That's the whole thing. I get it. And he's also the only starter out there for the most part because Roger McCreary is getting the veteran treatment and not really doing much at minicamp. And we know that Sneed was off rehabbing. So all of that being said, I want to see more from him in August. And then behind those guys, it's just it's an entirely unproven depth chart of guys. I'm optimistic about both of the Harrises, Jermari Harris and Marcus Harris, won the UDFA out of Iowa, the second out of Cal, the draft pick. Cal? UCLA? No, Cal. FEMU is UCLA. But are they like ready to contribute in the NFL? Darrell Baker flashed some last year, but he's kind of been MIA. Don't quote me on this. I think he underwent offseason surgery and he's going to be good to go by training camp. I think that's why we didn't see much of him. And then like Gabe Jeudy-Lally is taking a leap, but is he a guy you want to lean on? I don't know. So it's a concerning room in terms of depth, in terms of the starters, whether or not they're going to be able to play, whether or not when they do play, they're going to be good. I just don't know. And the biggest thing is that I already know this team can't rush the passer. It's like, I know that. Unless they take a leap that I'm not foreseeing, and by God, do it. Prove me wrong. But assuming they can't rush the passer very well, again, the only way teams like that get away with being decent defenses is by being really sound on the back end and forcing coverage sacks and putting quarterbacks in conflict and getting some turnovers, jumping routes. If you're also not good in the secondary, then that means you're cooked. That means you're a bad defense. If you can't rush and you can't cover, then you can't play defense. And so I'm concerned about that group. And then safety, I don't have a whole lot to say about them. I'm super excited about that group in general. I think that Kevin Winston Jr. is the defensive version of Gunnar Helm, the guy we're talking the least about, unfairly so, because he's somebody that once he's back and healthy, which I think is going to be in the first month of the season based on what I've heard, I think he's the kind of guy that Darren Wilson really wants to move around and use in an exciting way. So that is my stock up, stock down in each of the position groups. Went longer than I wanted to, but that was a lot of stuff to get through on my first version of the primetime coverage here. Excited to do these on Tuesdays with you guys. Hopefully I'll have topics where I'm less word salad and more able to pay attention to the comments. But I won't leave without having a little bit of fun here at the end of the show. And Bert, I want you to join me on this. I understand that usually on Tuesdays it's a gone viral, right? Usually a viral video.
You got it.
Yeah, I don't have a viral video for you today, but what I do have is something that a wormhole that my wife sent me down this morning, talking about what you call people from different states, like Tennesseans, or people from Tennessee or Tennesseans, right? And I forget what state it was, but she asked me like, hey, what do you call people from whatever the state was? And I was like, I don't know. Let me look up the list. And then I looked up the list and went down the list of all the places. For the most part, states are ends at the end. So it's like, Kentuckian. There are some ites in there. Like I think they're Vermontite or something.
See, when I moved here, I thought Tennesseans should have been Tennesseanians.
Tennesseanians.
Tennesseanian sounds awesome.
Right.
But I was quickly shot down.
Right. Well, and there's a lot of places that have multiple spellings. Like a lot of them are either ands or ens. So technically, you think of Floridians, right?
Right.
But also recognized by the U.S. government is Floridans, which sounds awful.
Yeah,
right?
I hate that. Hate that. Strike it from the list.
Well, speaking of things we hate, I put together a list of the top 5 worst state resident names. So
hell yeah.
I want to get your thoughts on how bad these are. Coming in at number 5 is Arkansas. Do you know what people from Arkansas are called?
I would hope it would be Arkansanians, but it's probably, I want everybody to sound like they're from Star Trek.
It is the AN suffix at the end, but how would you say that?
Arkansans?
Arkansans. That is what it is.
Arkansans. Oh, I want to cuss so bad. They're so stupid.
It's bad. It's bad. So that one's on the list because it sounds dumb. So that's number 5. Number 4 is Michigan. And it's not that their name is bad per se. It's that unlike the other states, they didn't say it with their chest. They just picked all of the options. So from Michigan, you can be a Michiganian. You can be Michiganan, you can be a Michigander, or you can be a Michigandite.
There's the ite. I knew the ite was in there, but I like Michigander. Like you're part of a big goose gander block.
Yes, Michigander is awesome. They should have just said we are Michiganders.
Michiganders, like that would have been cool.
They insisted on having every possible option recognized by the government, so they're number 4 on the list.
Super.
Number 3. What do you think folks from Utah are called?
Oh, are they just Utes?
No, they should be, I think, because that'd be fine, right?
Yeah, if you were just the Utes, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, they are they
Utonians, like
I know they are one of so they went with the common choice of just adding AN, but instead they took off the A because it feels unnecessary. So it's just Uton.
Not even Utons. Utons would have been better than that.
And it's spelled UTAHN. There's no AN, so it's just Uton. I hate it.
That's lame. That's lame.
Number 2, Massachusetts. They're one of the more unique ones. If you're from Massachusetts, you're a bay stater. My qualm with it is like, well, you guys own bays? You have the only bay?
Lame.
Oh, I'm from the Bay State. Okay, so that's like 13 of them.
Yeah, like Chesapeake. Like, I don't know. I think Maryland has a bigger claim to that than you guys do. I also hate that. That's lame.
Well, in California,
who decided these things?
That's bay, like, Oakland is the place that I think of when I think of a bay.
Johnny Chieffer, you should pass it more often. What about Dakotas or Carolinas? I know Carolinas are Carolinians, so
they
North
are
Carolinian, South Carolinian. I don't know. Dakotans?
It's Dakotans. Dakotans.
Dakotans.
Yeah.
They should have made these a little zestier. They should have made these have a little like funk to it. But
I know. But
I wasn't picking them.
Nothing touches number 1 on this list, and this is
we're not even done yet. Hell
yeah! This is the worst one. The worst one is Hawaii. What do you think you call a resident of Hawaii?
Ooh, Hawaiian.
No, it's not even close to that cool. Also, that would be problematic. Probably, I'd imagine. I'd be shot down by somebody.
You can't do that.
It is. I'm looking up the list because I want to give context to this. You call a resident of Hawaii, resident of Hawaii.
Oh, boo! They have like the coolest culture, man. Okay,
I know.
Like I was about to say Puerto Rico, but I mean they're Puerto Ricans. But Puerto Rican sounds cool. Like you know what you're getting. You're gonna get some good food. You're gonna have a good party. Like a resident of Hawaii.
Well, apparently, and I went down the rabbit hole on this because I'm like, why? Understandable initial problem that you can't go with the obvious one, Hawaiian, because that's turns out that's a whole ethnicity. That's not it's not because you're from there. Well, I mean, like, there are people that are native Hawaiians. Like,
we love their punch.
Right. Exactly. We do. We love their punch.
Yeah, I assumed.
So you can't just, just because Becky was born in Hawaii, you can't call her a Hawaiian because there are actual Hawaiians.
Okay. I understand that. I'm down with the classification of it.
Right. So that's the initial problem. The problem is that they didn't solve it with something cooler than resident of Hawaii. Now, here's the redeeming part of this is that the actual Hawaiians, like the people that are like look Hawaiian and do the Hawaiian things and surf and hula and all, like their ancestors rode the boats and everything. There's a Hawaiian language, right? There's a native tongue. In the native tongue, there are cool names for people that are from Hawaii.
Oh, of course.
So, native-born, non-ethnic Hawaiians in the Hawaiian language, how would I say that? Kameina, something like that. I'm sure it's cool when they say it.
Closer.
Kamea, probably that's what it is. And then if you're a newcomer, you're Malahini, right? So
that's how they're like gringo. That Malahini is
right.
Like gringo.
Yes, exactly. They probably say it with that kind of dismissive tone as well.
Oh, the Malahini, and they'll be like, I love that when they
it probably hurts to be called a Malahini by a real Hawaiian.
I don't know. I would probably, you have to earn your pass to the cookout. You have to earn your way out of not being a Muggle. You have to earn your way out of not being a Malahidan.
I agree. Malahini. Yeah, Malahini.
Yeah, you have to prove your worth. Like, help us out. Like, prove us you're not just going to come in here and take all our lays and whatnot.
But unfortunately, that's the moral of the story is that they had these cool words for them. And the U.S. government said, that is far too complicated for us. We're going to go with resident of Hawaii. So that's
super disappointing.
That's the official thing.
Super disappointing.
So I guess
enjoyed that.
State, and it's a fun little thing. States should, I think this is what every state, Congress needs to be focused on is taking a vote on a better state resident name because there's a lot of bad ones.
What else do they have to worry about? Come on. It's all peaches and cream out there.
I've seen some of the things these folks are arguing about, and frankly, this sounds more important. So
I'm going to be honest. I don't watch the news. I don't know what happens outside of my car, house, work window, but I assume everything's going great out there. It's going great.
That's what I'm told. Yeah, no, there's no problems in the world. Every state has it. Just great. All right, well, that's our show. The most unpolished version of the show you'll probably ever catch, but there's a first time for everything, and I'll have something actually viral next time. So looking forward to that. Brennan, my good friend Brennan, hello. Take the shirt off. Maybe next time it'll be Tarps Off on a Tuesday night. We'll see. Tarps Off Tuesday? Maybe. We'll see. Until next Tuesday, I'll be back then. I'll be back on the morning show tomorrow with Austin. So check out Austin and I's morning show. Same place, different time. Instead of 7 p.m. will be at 8 a.m. So we'll talk to you then. And then Buck Rising will have you covered on primetime, back to your regularly scheduled programming tomorrow night. Appreciate everyone tuning in, watching me waffle my way through this. I'll see you in the morning. For Bert, I'm Easton. This has been the A to Z Primetime Show.